Hi, I'm Kim Collins, Principal Flutist of the Waterbury Symphony Orchestra, and I'm coming to you from my kitchen today because I just love the way the flute sounds in my kitchen. Secret, I've tried every room in my house. The kitchen sounds the best. The flute is a member of the woodwind family. You might be saying, wait a minute, what's wrong with this picture? That's made of metal. And you're right, it is made of metal, the modern flute that I'm playing on today. But the early flutes were made out of wood, and that's the reason why the flute is grouped into the woodwind family. I make a sound on the flute by blowing across a hole. And this is the hole. If I blow across it, I make a sound. If I blow into it, I don't get anything. That's me blowing into it, but this is now blowing across it. I can change the sound higher or lower by changing how long the tube is. And I'm going to do that using my finger. So now, if I want to get a little bit more fancy and be able to play lots more notes on the flute, I need to be able to change the length of the tube. And how I do that is by opening and closing the keys, which cover different holes on the flute. And if I gradually make the tube longer by covering more and more holes, I'm going to get some lower sounds and lower and lower. Each instrument in the orchestra or band has its own special sound that is unique, and the flute is no exception. It has a sound that's very unique to the flute. It can be used to create different moods and different experiences and different colors within the orchestra or band or wherever it is that you're playing it. The flute can sound bright and cheerful. It can also sound kind of quiet and mysterious, like this. One of the things that composers do very often is to use the flute to sound bird-like. It's very famous for sounding like a bird. Speaking of birds, the composer Camille Saint-Saëns wrote a wonderful piece of music for 2 pianos and a small orchestra called Carnival of the Animals. And it has 14 different sections or movements that each paint a musical picture of various scenes. And some of the scenes are tortoises, chickens, donkeys, lions, elephants, kangaroos, fish, and many more. The movement of this piece that I'm going to play for you today is called Volière, which is a French word for aviary. An aviary is actually a very large enclosure, like a big glass house for keeping birds. If you've ever been to a zoo, a big zoo, like the Bronx Zoo in New York, many of the zoos have aviaries where you can walk in to this big enclosure and you can see and hear many different kinds of exotic birds up close and personal. When I play this piece about the aviary shortly, imagine the birds swirling and flying and tweeting everywhere you look. Normally, I would be accompanied by the strings and the piano in the orchestra, but since I'm home alone today, it will just be me playing the part of the birds. First, we're going to hear from our music director, Leif Bjaland, to tell a little bit more about Volière. and then I'll be back to play. I hope that you enjoy it.
Hello everyone, I'm Leif, and you may recall that recently I read you a poem called The Swan, which accompanied a very beautiful piece of music. The swan is a big bird and moves very slowly and gracefully, and so the poem that I read tried to imitate the movement of the swan. It was very smooth and beautiful and full of lovely liquid language. Well, I'm going to read you another poem today by the same author. This is the book it's from, and the author's name is Jack Prelutsky. And so Jack, as a poet, decided to write this beautiful swan poem very smoothly to try and imitate a swan. And he does exactly the same thing in the poem I'm going to read you now, which is about birds, but not big birds. Little tiny birds that flit in the forest and eat at bird feeders, probably in your backyard. And so instead of language that is smooth and beautiful and rounded, since little birds move quickly and dart about, the language in the poem tries to imitate that. So there are no big words. They're all small, pointy, chirpy little words. So here we go. This is the birds. They flutter here, they flutter there, enjoying every breeze, and twitter songs of happiness amid the sheltering trees. They build their nests, they hatch their eggs, they warble as they thrive. With every note, they tell the world it's good to be alive. Thanks for listening, and enjoy my friend Kim's playing of The Birds.